How's it going, everybody? It's Krusty O'Crow back again doing a tactical perspective toy review on a G.I. Joe classified series figure that I just picked up the other day. And today I'm going to be covering number 180 in the line, the Cobra Desert Scorpion. And SKRP1ON-25 spelt like he has a weapon of destruction on that box. Picked this up at my local GameStop, and I've been waiting quite a while for this Cobra troop builder that I never even saw as a kid. Even my cousin didn't have this figure, and it's certainly not the figure I pictured in my head when I saw that they were doing this. They seem to have taken another classify leap, bound, and elbow drop off the top rope here on this one. They've made something very interesting to collect and to explore variations of. So I'm giving you a quick glimpse of that boxer. I'm going to pop this thing open and explain to you guys the only reason I'm reviewing this right now late, instead of just passing on it and moving on, is just because of the discussion points I've picked up on this guy. Just looking at him and studying him and realizing where my mind was going. So on this tactical perspective, guy, I'm going to tell you why this is probably one of the most relatable Cobra guys in my collection for sure. And I'm also going to talk about what I think of the road ahead for troop builders in the classified line and where I see the nastiest of trends coming. But remember, guys, it's just a fun review and a fun toy, and that's really what I'm going to do. I'll give you my tack grade, play grade, and je ne sais quoi grade just as normal, right? And then we'll pop this guy back on the shelf. And I'll do all the other things that I used to do. If you guys like that sort of stuff, you know the like, share, subscribe. Really helps out the channel. I got to do the ask part. You do your part. We're good. Thanks very much. Let's go unbox this guy and have a look at what we're doing with him as we look at the file card too. Okay, so while I do my editing and distract you with images of desert scorpions and things like that, I'll give you guys the file card that came out for the 91 version of the Desert Scorpion. And this file card, it made sense right up till I saw the classified variant and where Hasbro has taken this character. And I said they must have hated this card as much as I did for what they visioned this guy should be. You know, listen to the file card if you're not familiar with it. The Desert Scorpion, Cobra Desert Trooper. It begins with, nobody volunteers to be a scorpion. It's a punishment to the undermotivated vipers who refuse to follow orders. In order to survive, they quickly learn to mimic the attack patterns of venomous desert scorpions with which they live. After 1 year of unblemished service as a scorpion, a Cobra Trooper can be reinstated into the Viper Corps or whatever special forces he originated from. A scorpion fights hard because he knows that if he messes up, he'll go straight into the Toxo Vipers, the Cobra Hostile Environment Detachment, better known as the Leaky Soup Brigade. So being as a Desert Scorpion, takeaway here is it's a punishment for not being a good Viper. And the Vipers are already low enough on the totem pole as far as hierarchy and rank inside Cobras. So these guys are like the last chancers, guys in crap unit, right? I'm going to get back to that because it just doesn't make sense. Moving on, it says, a Scorpion prefers to be in the midst of fighting because it's safer than being in the garrison. In the field, where the whole unit is under threat, everybody pulls together because every trooper's life hinges on the combined firepower and team effort. Good. In the barracks, each Scorpion thinks of himself as a desperate, isolated individual surrounded by thieves, cutthroats, and scoundrels, and he's right. So now they accurately portray what that Scorpion would act like when he's the lowest on the rung and he's practically on his way out of Cobra because he is one of those Vipers they all turned on and said, you're a bag of crap. You're going to go do that, right? So when they're fighting, everybody's too distracted to pick on him, mess with them, do all that other stuff. But when he's in garrison, nobody's their friends, right? Like it's like you're that bag of crap. Get out of here, Scorpion. You shouldn't be with us, kind of deal. All right, so there's the file card and how I'm interpreting it. Is it logical? And looking at how they do the Desert Scorpion now, no, it's not logical. You would not invest kind of time, hardware, resources, all that stuff into a guy that you're just trying to send it to his death, right? What Classified did for the Desert Scorpion is upgraded all that gear and gave him a personality with first time ever face feature for him. They've also readapted this Scorpion to be something more questionable in what he deals with, right? When it was the size of his shin guard, that's different when he lived with those scorpions. But as he's living with these scorpions, well, then you got a pack master or like a wolf pack kind of situation. And I just, yeah, there's a lot going on here. When I look at that file card, I don't think this is the guy that you punish by sending him out. I think this is one of the few guys that survived being sent out like that. And moreover, with that face sculpt, what they've done is they've inherently made it look like he was always from an environment like this. He doesn't look like a Viper screw up from, Wisconsin, ended up in the desert and just happened to become a desert scorpion as a punishment. He looks like a former Mujahideen or a former warlord or something that already lived in a desert environment, and Cobra's employed them. And that's where I think Classified has taken it. So to me, the file card, I don't buy it. I think it's junk, but it is the canon, right? So I think we are looking at a changed perspective on Desert Scorpion in this line. All right, so we now have the file card behind us. We can ask, is he doing his job? And it seems like his job is to be a POS, lowest rung on the ladder, cast out to the desert to wander around and prove his worth. So, does he have the kit to reflect that? Let's have a look. First pieces of kit I'm going to talk about are some reuse that we have from the Alley Viper. This bad dude here. Weapons worked for him because he was an urban combat guy. So they're close combat. And then some scaling equipment. Well, they've decided to upgrade the scaling equipment with a grappling gun, which they put string on. They didn't get to that before they did their photo stock shots of this and put it out for production, but they got to it right before it went in the box and got sealed up. And I appreciate the string provided. It explains the grappling gun better. I had done so with one of my snake guys, but I had used wires. So I appreciate the efforts, even if I don't appreciate this reuse. Sure, he has a grappling gun to scale mountainsides and fortification walls, high walls of other warlords in the desert area regions, things like that. I keep saying this guy really reminds me of the arid types with a lot of his kit and the way they've portrayed him. And yeah, the grappling gun hitting high walls, I could accept that, except we're adding more weight to him, right? Now he's also got his Alley Viper, boarding gun there with the forward grip and then the removable mag, which is always a problem when I'm trying to get his hand in there, but it's not insurmountable. And I could justify this weapon, I suppose. He would want a light, compact weapon with the scope while walking in the desert. He doesn't want to be weighed down by a lot of weight. He would definitely have a sling for this or somewhere to carry it. But I would have preferred a long barrel gun just because he's walking around in the desert and he's got forever to see in front of him from high vantage points and everything. And while the scope is perfect, the long barrel gun gives him an advantage, and I felt like they should have included that. But what can you say? According to the file card, he's very familiar with kit like this, so he keeps it. But then they start loading him up with other kit that was interesting, right? So close combat weapons. He comes with 2 close combat knives, you know, here. Nice little floppy knives. One goes in a back sheath, and I say floppy, nice little floppy, meaning that they are very gummy, guys. But they go into the sheaths with these and they fit snugly enough. It's just the hands are also a bit gummy, I find. You don't get extra hands in this set. What you got is all he needs, right? But I find the combination of how gummy these are so that they can hold the weapons that they're allotted it doesn't make them the most comfortable fit with the blade. Part of that is also because of the pike, which I like, and I'll talk about that later because that's some of the kit that changes the dynamic of this character. Right now, I'm showing you the kit that makes this guy Johnny Average Desert Scorpion, as the file car would say. That guy that couldn't cut it and had to be sent down. And if he keeps getting sent down, he's going to be a Toxel Viper. He's a loser, right? We talked about the common kit he gets. Lastly, I'll say he gets a semi-decent pair of, clawed attachments for his hands, and they sit nicely over the knuckles. I got a couple of shots in there for you of them, but they aren't they aren't fantastic, but they are part of that old kit that he had, kind of that they tried to represent back in '91. And I want to again call attention to 3D Joes. They are where I grabbed all my images of the '91 character because I never had them, right? And therefore I wouldn't have had the file card or ever even known about that file card. Nor would I know that he had claws on his character, right? Never paid that much attention. So the last thing that makes him the generic troop build, is the mask, and then the scorpion I'll get into in a minute. The mask is a removable piece, and this is new to the classified line because they remove it, and it's a single post system that holds this gold mask with the red visor and the nice paint apps on it, holds it in place. Now they've replaced it with a another face that now makes this more of a connective to an individual. Like, and without pinching his capes in there, he's got this going on, right? And this now changes the tone of the whole character for me, right? And I'll talk about that a little bit more after I finish up the kit. But I wanted to show you the head feature also. If we pop it off and revert it back to its original state, you'll notice they did for Desert Scorpion what they couldn't do for Dusty, and that was give the fabrics here. So more fabrics than I thought we would get in this set, knocking everything over. Once I saw what they did with the Legacy 60th Anniversary Soldier kind of thing, I wasn't hopeful for this. I thought maybe they would do this poorly, but they did it really good. This arid wrap for him to walk on during the sandstorms, protect his skin in the hottest of suns, a little bit of warmth in the cool night and things like that. That was cool. But then to apply it on the helmet finally and show us that they could make it work gives me a lot of hope for maybe a retro Dusty in the future or something that's going to feature that. That's great. But I wanted to show you the nice paint apps on there. Kind of a our Soviet tanker style helmet cover here. Like, that's all leather padding, and it reminds me of the old Soviet tankers, which goes back to what I said about the Middle Eastern Afghan warlord feel of this guy, and how the warlords of that region were constantly using the discarded Soviet stock of the '80 occupation when Russia went into Afghanistan. The warlords got everything the Russians left behind, from weapons to tanks to vehicles of all sorts to gear. So this kind of helmet for him, it adds to that notion I have of him. So really good soft goods. We'll get into the backpack now, which is where things get a little interesting, and I'm kind of not sure how to feel. As we weigh down this guy who travels the dunes of the desert with his scorpion companion we're going to meet soon, he is carrying a very heavy backpack. This thing has what looks like demolition charges on it, a lot of tech going into it to support what seems to be more than just this, but a lot of it would be this laser kind of weapon system on a very articulate 1, 2, 3 point, maybe 4 point little neck there that you can do a lot of things with. Very small post for this other attachment, which is the hose that goes into the side of his helmet. And I'm showing you the backside because they show he does pack some gear in there, because they've added the light pack on there, the leather, and they've broken that black up with the leather brown and that, and it looks like it's a two-piece system. So I'm kind of curious if we'll ever see just this half of the pack ever used again with something else down the line, right? But as I take the opportunity to show you the back, and you can see that scabbard, both of them there, how it'll line up, I'm actually happy I haven't had any issues lining this hole up with this vest. It's such a nice tight fit on the upper torso, and it doesn't cradle down to where his ab crunch is, right? So it's a nice fit. vest that I also count as part of the kit because it's part of the deco they build for these things, right? So I think kit wise, I'm a little conflicted over whether I like some of this reuse less, like enough that I don't like the kit, or I like some of this new kit enough that I can forgive the reuse kit. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's too weighty for a guy like what his role is in the desert, right? Bit too weighty. Would have been cool for another character. Not sure how I feel on that. But he's got the clamp for the last piece of his kit, which I really like. And that is his electro pike, right? His shock prod to motivate Scorpion, to move along, and not have to get too close to him and too close to that tail. And I had a lot of fun playing with that because this is Tusken Raider out of Star Wars kind of stuff for sure. But also the in the Middle East, herders use long sticks to move along their herds of goats and sheep and things like that, or camels and things like that. I've seen them use long sticks, and to use a long electro pike with a hook on a very carapace mutated, I'd say genetically engineered scorpion makes perfect sense. You're not going to stab through that armor with it. You might poke a soft spot to remind him and give him a little shock that he'll feel under his armor plating. And so that brings us to the scorpion, as they call, I can't remember the designation. And so many points of articulation, we'll start with the claws. You got your claw hinges here. They rotate right at the wrist joint kind of thing. And then nothing in the elbow, but over here in the shoulder, where the shoulder ball joint would be, they can rotate. No jaw that moves up and down that I can tell. Don't really need it. Never really wondered what a scorpion's dental work looked like, but now I know. Same case on the other side, of course. And then we've got our 8 legs, which have several points of articulation as well. One at where it meets the underbelly, the off-toned underbelly, and another weaker, like not very movable one in the elbow region there. And then everything else is firmly set. So this allows him to crawl around on different levels, and you can manipulate the legs to allow it, as I'm trying to show. The tail, it will come in a disassembled way when you get this thing, and you will pop that back in just like a head on a neck joint, and then you've got a couple of ball joints in between right here and right here to manipulate the tail and the stinger. And then the rest of it rotates on other ball joints, so you can actually get a fair amount of play out of just the scorpion. And he is actually very impressive for the amount of posability he had. I kind of expected him to be a plastic lug with minimal movement, and this to be all wire or something. So I'm glad that they went with the ball joint system, but you can see it can get a little loose. And we're going to talk about looseness a little bit more when we look at Desert Scorpion's buck, which is right now. All right, so doing it better with photography, I'm sure, than I am holding it up to the camera right now because of poorer lighting. But this is actually a really cool and very articulate figure with double jointed pinless knees and elbows, and the neck is left enough room for the scarf and everything. Uh, Pretty good up down tilt, good enough ab crunch. Butterflies are not present, I don't think, or are they? Oh, they're present, but they're kind of masked a little bit with the way that the back is kind of, the width of the padding here kind of keeps them from folding all the way back, but they're present. Kind of a Wolverine look here, eh? Like just he could have been this could be James Howlett Logan, but it's not. He's got a Cobra tattoo on his upper right shoulder there, which he had back in the day. That was the where they placed the Cobra thing. Couple of red grenades on that black belt over the brown padding that matches up with the helmet. They've put this yellowish gold band color in very neat places, along the abdomen, along the head, and then down at the very bottom of the boots to keep your eye traveling down here. There's a lot of symmetry and balance in the pattern of this layout. These gauntlets rotate at the upper part, just under the elbow there, and they are brown padded to match what he wears on his head. And then you can see above them, on the upper side of them, he's got the gold and black armor plating, which is also mirrored with his helmet tech and things like that. His belt's got some pouch and whistles, and of course that scabbard. And like I said, You can see he almost looks like an X-Men. The curiosity I found on this is, why does he have loose rounds attached under the on a bandolier on there with the weapon he had? That is something you do for long barrel rifles, like an old pump action or a, lever action rifle, or perhaps for a six shooter or some other weapon, Western style. Not necessarily for an urban room clearing gun that breachers would use, right? So found that interesting, but it looks great with they at least they got the paints on there and a couple red grenades. Like I said, moving down the buck, you got the black jumpsuit pants, which I'm sure will be reused 1,000 times. I'm wondering where I've seen them before. I wonder if I've seen these on Cold Slither or something. But then the bike boots, and again, he could look like a dirt bike trail rider with some of the armor gear they gave him with the black and gold, but breaks up nicely with that brown. And you can see the yellow tread on his boot. Like I said, keeping that eye moving down this figure, this desert yellow, right? This flesh tone that he has, it's hard for me to not say that it doesn't look like one that would be comparable to what I've been talking about the Middle Eastern warlord. He's got the sun trained skin and that kind of complexion, the dark hair and the soft green eyes, right, and things like that. It just fits that image for me. So that kind of feels like they built something out of almost nothing with Classified. They built an individual where once they only had a description of his job. Look, the only bad thing I'm going to say about this buck is, my God, it's loose. He really was loose in the torso. His legs, I can feel that there wanted to be a ratchet sense there, but no, they're pretty rickety right here, just below the knee. Everything else seems fine. The arms are plenty tight. Head's a good fit. Ab has a good click. You can do that, but it's just up around the torso rocker side. There's something going on that gets him a bit rickety. Thankfully, the Scorpion is not. So it's time to give this guy a grade. I'm going to go with the tack grade of a 4 because I feel he's overloaded for what he's doing, but well equipped otherwise to be a Scorpion handler. And I think this genetically engineered, that's what I'm calling it, Scorpion, is a very interesting accessory, especially for guys who want to pay the price to troop build these, which is the part of the tactic where I'm kind of going, I should take a point away. Maybe I should add a point for Hasbro's tactic lately of making all the troop builders deluxe sets. If you look at the Ghost Viper now and things like that, we're getting more, but we're paying the price for that. And so guys who like the troop build may find figures more and more challenging as that becomes the approach. As far as a play grade on this one, I'm going to go with a 4 again. It should really probably be a 5, but I'm making a point about just how I don't appreciate the wrong reuse at the right time. It was the right time to give him reuse for weapons because you put so much finance into the deco of the fabrics of this thing, creating a new backpack system and the pike. I got it. And then the two head feature, making your innovative feature for Classified appear, where other lines have done it before, but you've done it. That's got to be pricey. So you don't want to make everything new. But to bring in the Alley Viper equipment, I felt was a phone in. I understood one, the grappling gun, but maybe have a place to clip it onto the backpack, which I did not see on there. But who knows? Maybe the scope can go where the pike goes. But the Alley Viper urban clearance gun with the back mag there, it was a really poor choice in lieu of a long barrel hunting rifle of some sort, something light, long, doesn't necessarily need a mag. Like I said, a lever action, something to support the bullets that are already incorporated in his design. Failing that, I would have just left it at the grappling gun and perhaps a revolver or something, right? He's probably walking around the desert for days on end, camping light, moving in the heat, trying to retain energy. Sweating out because you're carrying a quarter ton of kit is probably not the way desert troopers are trained. Even if they are big bags of hammers, they would be equipped. I don't buy into that file card description where they say they go, it's their last chance before they come out and talk to Viper. I'm like, unless they're equipped to survive in the desert, they ain't coming back. So on the Je ne sais quoi, guys, I'm going to go with a 5 for the je ne sais quoi, a 4 on the play, 5 on the je ne sais quoi, because I love everything they did with this. Like I said, they took a troop builder and they gave him the potential to still be a troop builder, but they've appointed what would appear to be the leader in this face feature. Or if you only want one, then maybe you just give him an identity and leave him at 1. Maybe there are no Desert Scorpions. Maybe there's just the Desert Scorpion and Scorpion 8. Either way, it's your choice, your imagination, your fun. I've had fun with mine. Thank you so much for joining me on the Tactical Perspective review on number 180 in the G.I. Joe classified line, the Desert Scorpion and Scorpion, I said 825. All right. Had a lot of fun with this one. We'll see you very soon on the next Tactical Perspective. Junior.